wanted to play a song called Lewis Collins. Lewis Collins was recorded by Mississippi John Hurt. And you could say in a lot of ways that Mississippi John Hurt is the single biggest influence on how I play guitar. I would say that nobody can actually really recreate, his sound because it was really unique. Long before Chet Atkins came along and Merle Travis and people like that, Mississippi John Hurt was sort of the pioneer of the Piedmont style alternating bass finger picking style. And one of his riffs is the first thing that I played on my guitar when I finished building my guitar. And while it's actually some of the most, in a lot of ways, it's very predictable what Mississippi John Hurt would play. You always knew what bass note was coming next. It's very hard to replicate and to really get the feel down. And Mississippi John Hurt was interesting because he was another one of the guys like Furry Lewis who was recorded when he was a young man in his 20s, in the 1920s. He recorded for OK Records and and he recorded a song called Avalon Blues. And in that song he sang Avalon is my home. And Avalon, Mississippi. And so when the folk revival came along, he sort of fell into obscurity and went back to being a farmer after recording an entire album, and he recorded about 28 songs in the 1920s. And then the Depression hit, and nobody saw any money from any of those recordings. And so Mississippi John Hurt went back to doing what he does. He preached a little bit and worked in agriculture and farmed and lived his life. And of course he continued playing guitar as he loved to do. And when the folk revival came around in the early 1960s, some of the some of the beatniks in New York who were putting together festivals, they got into some of those old recordings. And so they actually went to go look for some of those people who recorded in the 1920s. And so they took a shot in the dark and they said, let's go to Avalon. As he said, Avalon is his home. And sure enough, they drove down to Avalon, Mississippi, and found Mississippi John Hurt sitting on his porch playing guitar like, time stood still. And sure enough, they found him and they dragged him up to New York and had him play in festivals, and he blew them away. And he was in his he was probably in his 60s or 70s then, and he even became a friend of Pete Seeger's. And he was on, Pete Seeger in the 1960s had a show called Rainbow Quest. And Pete Seeger was very eager to have Mississippi John Hurt come on. And he came on and played some songs. And so people got reintroduced to Mississippi John Hurt through people like Pete Seeger and John Cohen and a few different people who made a point of carrying on the tradition and rediscovering these people. So Mississippi John Hurt was rediscovered in the 60s, and this is one of the songs that he used to blow people away, called Lewis Collins. It's a sort of trance song, if you ask me. Miss Collins, we miss Collins more. See her son Lewis leaving home. Angels laid him away. Said angels laid him away. Oh Lord. shot once and Lewis shot two. Shot poor Collins all through and through. Angels laid him away. Well, angels laid him away, oh Lord, laid him 6 feet under the hay. Angels laid him away. Oh, kind friend said, ain't it hard? Shot poor Lewis in an old graveyard. Angels laid him away. Said angels laid him away, oh Lord, laid him 6 feet under the clay. Angels laid him away. When Miss Collins heard that Lewis was dead, all them folks come dressed in red. Angels laid him away. Said angels laid him away, oh Lord, laid him 6 feet under the clay. Angels laid him away. Say Miss Collins weep, Miss Collins moan. See her son Lewis